These are 50 of the rarest myths in Minecraft I didn't know after playing the game for over 10 years.
Let's go!
The first myth is that you can actually use jukeboxes to smelt items. I mean, you have to be really rich to do this, but let's try it out. No way this actually works. So if you feel like you're done with music discs, you can just break this and put this in the oven. So next up, if you have a trident with loyalty 3, then if you throw it through the nether portal, then if you go through, it comes back to you. Not sure if this is true, but it does. It works. Myth confirmed. So the next myth is that netherrack actually grows faster in the nether than in the overworld, and we are going to be speeding up the ticks to see if this really is the case. So now the tick rate is 50 and we'll see how long does it take to grow this. So now we are back and all the crops have grown, and this took about 2 minutes to grow in total. So now we are going to check the same thing in the overworld, and it actually took the same amount of time to grow these in the overworld. But how about in the end? Maybe that's faster. So the result is that all of the netherworld grow at the same speed. You can actually get better loot while it's a thunderstorm. So we are going to test out when the weather is normal right now, when it's raining and when it's a thunderstorm. And we are going to catch 10 fish and take time. How long does it take to actually catch the fish? So the time is up, and now I will put the results on the screen. Wait, before we keep going, I have to tell you that the next myths are going to get only crazier and crazier, so be sure to watch till the end. Let's go. So we all know that if you jump on a crop, then it will break. But what if you have feather falling 4 boots? Apparently they're not supposed to break, so we can check this out. We're gonna jump, but it still breaks. So this myth is busted. The next myth is that mobs can't see you from as far when you have invisibility. So as you can see, this zombie sees me pretty well. Already if I'm quite far away, like this, still sees me. But if I pop on a cheeky invisibility, then he actually doesn't detect me. Yeah, I can get really close to him, he doesn't see me. Okay, now he sees me, nice. So this myth is actually true. If you have a phantom and you also have a cat, then actually phantoms are scared of cats. And as you could see, the cat hissed at the phantom and he's not coming. So this myth is also true. So this next myth is actually quite interesting. Apparently if you have an armadillo and you have a spider, then spider is scared of the armadillo. And that's actually true. He's running away. Doesn't look like that scary of an animal, but spiders are scared of armadillos. So the myth is that actually when you enchant golden tools with the enchanting table, then you will get better enchantments than with any other tools, for example diamond, netherite, and we're going to check this out. So the results are in, and this myth is actually true. So we got 2 diamond swords that I will be happy with and 4 golden swords that I will be happy with. So the next myth is that if you actually rename wolf armor to Jeb _, then the wolf will get rainbow armor. And that is sadly not true. As fun as wind chargers are, they can apparently ring bells. Let's check this out. But what about pressure plates? And that's true. Next to the stone one, that's also true. It can open it. How about gold? But how about the strongest pressure plate? It can. So this myth is in fact true. Apparently if you light it underwater, nothing actually explodes, which is true. But if you put sand on top of TNT, it actually blows stuff up. So this myth is true. If you have a dispenser that has carved pumpkins and you have a mob, then if you activate it, then the mob gets carved pumpkin. But if I come here, boom, I have it done. So this myth does not work. So the next myth is that if you are on a mushroom island, then no mobs can spawn, which is partly true. As you can see, I'm on hard difficulty right now, and there are no other mobs than these cute mushrooms here. If you haven't slept for 3 days, then phantoms can sadly still spawn, and that's the only mob that can spawn here. If you are walking on a magma, then if you have frostwalker boots, then it doesn't actually give you damage, which is true. As you can see, I don't take any damage. Fun fact, if you leave a comment on this video, then I will personally heart the comment. Try it. So the next one is kind of interesting. Apparently if you have an iron golem and you punch it off, or it doesn't want to go, but if you push it off, then it actually doesn't take fall damage when it falls. And we're gonna find out if it does. So this myth is actually true. So the next myth is that if you are in the void, you can actually eat chorus fruit and you will be teleported back. But as you can see, this myth is sadly busted. Apparently cats also have the same thing, so let's check this one out. We're falling, and upsty, and this guy is alive. So this myth is also true. So the next one is quite interesting. Apparently if you have a Vindicator and you name it Johnny, then it becomes hostile towards every live creature, including cows. So this is Johnny right here, and when we take a normal Vindicator, then it doesn't care. But Johnny on the other hand does care. So this myth is true. So this next one is pretty interesting. Apparently if Evoker sees blue sheep, then it will do Vololo and raise up his hands like in Age of Empires, and then turn the sheep red. So let's check this out. This myth is true. I didn't know actually this was true. So the next one is interesting one. Basically, if you have turtle eggs and you have a zombie, then the zombies will prioritize the eggs over the player, and we're gonna test it out. So the zombie is coming, and will it attack me or the eggs? So it will still prioritize me over the eggs, at least it seems like. So this myth is busted. So many people say that actually baby zombies have more health than the normal big zombie, and that's actually not the case. So as you can see, if I swing 2 times this sharpness 5 netherite sword, it dies, and same with a little one. So they actually have the same amount of health. On to the next myth. So the next myth is that if you have a snow golem in hot climate, then it will die, but if you have a fire resistance potion, then it will survive. So those 2 myths are both true. So the next myth is that if you have a silk touch pickaxe, then you can mine them. As you can see, the normal spawn doesn't work. Troll spawner also doesn't work, you can't actually break this. So both of these myths are busted. So the next myth is that actually ice melts in the nether. So this is very hot here, this is the hottest biome of them all. So as we can clearly tell, ice does not melt in the nether, but the normal ice eventually does melt, but these 2 don't melt. So this myth is busted. So the next myth is that if we spawn a wither, then it basically doesn't care about zombies and stuff, but if we put cows, then it's a big problem. And as we can see, it just hates living mobs. So apparently you're able to block these shards with their shield, but as we can see, that is not the case. And yeah, we're dead. The next myth is that actually horses can skip the snow, basically, that like sinks you in, and we're gonna check this out now. And as we can see, this horse actually sinks, and now we have a problem. This is actually exactly what happened in my hardcore series, so yeah, this myth is actually busted. Horses do sink in the stupidest block of them all. So the next myth is that actually if you break crops with water, then you will get less crops than with breaking by hand. And we're going to check this out by first breaking with hand. So this is the amount of crops we have. And now we're going to break the same thing with water. Okay, can't do that. And let's see how much do the results differ. So with farming by hand, we got 2 stacks and 6. By water, we got 1 stack. But the wheat amount is the same. So there's legit no difference with how you break your crops. So this myth is actually busted. So the next myth is apparently if you punch this and then they get angry at you and they attack you, then they lose their stingers, and then in about a minute they are going to die. So about 1 minute has passed and they don't have their stingers, and as you can see, they sadly die. So this myth is true, but they don't die instantly. Now the next myth is that zombies and drowned can break doors. So as you can see, they can actually break doors. Now a good way to fix this is to just place the door the other way. Then the zombies and drowned and everyone can't actually break the door because it's the wrong way around. So they can only break the door if it's like this. So the next myth is that the compass actually points to your bed. So in this case, we can actually see that it does that. But in reality, it goes somewhere here where there is my spawn point. So this myth is actually busted. Now the next myth is actually pretty nice. So if we spawn a villager and we trade with him, then we get the secret star trader achievement. And when we jump down here and we wait a bit and we wait more, then boom, we got another secret achievement called Caves and Cliffs. So this secret achievement myth is true. I am underground here because I don't want to blow up anything important. So the next myth is that actually TNT blinks 8 times before it explodes. So let's try it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is true. Myth confirmed. So you probably know that us normal people can't actually sleep in the end because it creates an explosion. But what happens if we bring villagers to the nether and make them sleep? Do they go to sleep? So they can sleep in the nether, but what about in the end? Bro, what is this? So the next myth is that if you have a flame bow, then if you shoot an arrow, then the arrow actually extinguishes me there. Seems like that's true. So the next myth is that netherite actually burns in lava, and we have different pieces here. We're going to check each of these out if they burn or not. And this one doesn't actually burn, as you can see. Let it sit, and it also survives. So this also survives, as you can see. Nope. So no, netherite do not burn. So the next myth is that if you have a creeper and it has a potion effect, so in our case poison, then if it blows up, then the hole it will create will have lingering of the same potion. So we're gonna check it out. So we are now in survival mode. We're going to throw the bottle and now we're gonna let it explode. And does this have lingering? Yes, it does. So the next myth is that spiders actually can't climb up any ice blocks. So the spider is here, I'm gonna punch it, and now I'm going to go up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it can actually follow me. So this myth is actually false, and spiders can climb up ice. The next myth is that you can't actually place any water in the nether to extinguish yourself. We are going to test out if we go into lava, and then if we come here, then does it extinguish us? So we're in the lava, and now we're gonna come here. As you can see, it did extinguish us. Next up, if you have a parrot and you give it cookie, then apparently it will die. And that's true. If you give zombie a healing potion, they actually take damage. As we can see, this is true. And when we give it a potion that does harm, then this will actually give it health. As you can see, that works. So the next myth is that actually beacons don't work in the nether. So if we build a really primitive beacon here with this, will not work. So what we need to do is go straight up and rake everything to the bedrock. And as you can see, after we did that, beacon starts working. Witches can actually die in lava. We're gonna check this myth out, which is in lava, but it drank a fire resistance potion and now it's drinking instant health potion. So it will actually never die in lava. The next myth is that you will always take the same amount of damage when using Ender Pearl. So as you can see, we are on this 10 block tall pillar. We're going to see how much health do we lose when I aim straight here to the target. So as you can see, I lost 2.5 hearts, but now I'm going to use Feather Falling 4 boots and we're going to do this test again. Aim at the same place. And as you can see, we actually took only 1 heart. So this myth is actually not true. So the last myth is that if you click on the video that's on the left, then you are going to absolutely love it. So click it. And this myth is true. So what are you waiting for? Click it. You are absolutely going to love it. I know you want to do it. So do it.